Hey there, fellow wanderers. Tonight, we find ourselves whisked away from cozy apartments and glowing screens into the unforgiving chaos of a medieval battlefield. Picture the blare of trumpets slicing through the morning mist. Boots stomp the earth like war drums. Swords are drawn with a cold metallic shriek. You're here, shoulder to shoulder, with warriors who've seen more death than dreams. Your heart races, your hands tremble, your instincts scream retreat. And let's be honest, you probably won't survive this. Not unless you've got nerves of steel, and maybe some chainmail under your hoodie. If this brutal slice of history pulls you in, like the video, subscribe, and drop your location and current time in the comments. Dim the lights. Let the fan hum like the wind before the charge. Let's begin. You can almost hear the creaking of the pulleys as your senses take in the vast ocean of colourful standards breezing through like spectral guardians of different factions. The ground feels foreign, rugged, as if it senses your discomfort. A steady drum marks the beat of marching forces, their metallic armour gleaming like a deceptive promise of invincibility. Historians have often marvelled at how these vast armies assembled, yet they still argue whether elaborate battle strategies were the genius of lone commanders or the result of chaotic trial and error. One thing you instantly notice is survival on this medieval battlefield requires not just the strength of steel, but the cunning of the mind. You watch as the seasoned warriors move with a practiced grace, a choreography of death known only to them. It's hard not to feel like an outsider here, like you've stumbled into an intricate dance without knowing the steps. The scent of fresh earth melds with the pungent aroma of sweat and animal hide. Your senses are on overload. You ponder the battlefield's vast social melting pot. Men of noble birth commanding ranks, while peasants and townsmen stand shoulder to shoulder, their shared fate binding them more tightly than any feudal obligation. This hodgepodge of backgrounds brings with it a surprising array of skills and anecdotes. There's the fellow who's seen the world as an itinerant trader, now brandishing a spear with surprising dexterity, and next to him, the quiet youth, whose hands are more accustomed to plowshares than swords, his expression one of steadfast resolve. Jokes arise amidst this sea of tension, a strange but comforting tradition. A knight quips to a squire about the free mud masks provided by the rain-soaked battlefield, a half-hearted attempt to lighten hearts. You smirk, despite yourself, realizing that humour threading its way through dread is timeless. Amidst this looming confrontation, ancient rituals play an uncanny role. A soldier kneels momentarily, uttering a prayer to a saint securely fastened inside his breastplate. The saint, a relic also considered a good luck charm, offers an evocative peek into the superstitions that accompany warfare. As the soldier rises, you can't help but wonder if faith makes him feel a touch braver, or perhaps it just gives him something to focus on, aside from imminent peril. As the sun begins to set, casting an ominous red glow over the battlefield, the realization dawns on you. This is not the world of scripted epics or romanticized paintings. It's visceral, chaotic, and utterly indifferent to your survival. No drying ink of parchment promises a triumphant end. Instead, the forthcoming darkness conceals shadowy figures, each with their own unsung tales, their glories and their griefs. Understanding that your so-called strategy games back home would never prepare you for this visceral reality, you brace yourself. The past is no longer a distant reverie, but a living, breathing behemoth, ready to swallow you whole. Welcome to a day on the medieval battlefield, a reality check wrapped in the enigma of history and human endurance. You stand at the threshold of battle, keenly aware of the heavy presence of armor encasing your body like a metal cocoon. This is no lightweight cosplay or themed party garb. Medieval armor is hefty, intricate, and alarmingly restrictive. You might feel invincible as the shining sun casts flickering reflections across your armored torso, giving you a semblance of a human tank. But then, the first beads of sweat trickle down your forehead, slipping beneath the helmet, and you quickly recognize why you wouldn't last a day in this gear. It's hard not to equate yourself with a medieval turtle, weighed down by layers of metallic scales that clink and scrape as you attempt even the simplest gestures. This encasement, comprised of interlocking plates and chainmail, could weigh anywhere between 45 to 55 pounds. Imagine carrying a Labrador retriever strapped across your chest, all day. Historians have debated the exact historical accuracy of full-body plate mail usage by all knights, with some suggesting that chainmail remained more popular for extended periods due to its relative flexibility and ease with movement. As your limbs strain against the cumbersome suit, you have to wonder how these knights managed any semblance of battlefield acrobatics. Maybe they had abs of steel underneath all that actual steel. It's no surprise that training started from a young age, designed to build endurance and ensure that when the battle horns sounded, these soldiers could sprint or sidestep without falling flat on their armoured derriere. The menacing clank of every move is a constant reminder of your burden, yet it somehow harmonises with the battlefield's symphony, a cacophony of metal in kinetic friction. Perhaps you're already beginning to develop a deep respect for these past warriors, who regularly endured not just the physical strain, but the suffocating warmth and limited visibility of helmets that more closely resembled metal buckets rather than anything ergonomic by today's standards. Peering through narrow slits in your visor, your world is compressed into a series of fleeting, blurry snapshots, a medieval Instagram feed, if you will. Suddenly, within this narrow field of vision, another warrior stomps past, their armor gleaming dully in the waning light. They seem almost at ease, practiced at integrating their metal components seamlessly with every stride. They pause briefly to demonstrate an animated series of warm-ups, swinging their sword in broad, sweeping arcs, slicing meditatively through the evening air. It becomes clear that there was more to successful combat than swinging blindly and praying for divine intervention. Adding to the array of challenges is the limitation on tactile sensation. The barrier between your skin and the elements outside remains, and with it, a numbing detachment. You've heard tales of knights unable to feel the creeping cold of frostbite creeping up their knuckles, or the searing pain of an unnoticed wound. The armor both protects and alienates, highlighting the paradox of medieval battle survival. In this moment of contemplation, you find solace in a somewhat humorous thought. At least you can vie for miscongeniality of the battlefield. Clad in metallic splendor and glaring enough to dazzle any would-be attacker into momentary confusion. Yet, you know that eventually, skill and comfort with this cumbersome outfit would surpass any momentary aesthetic charm. As traditional armor advances fill your tired mind, you recall that the bulky aesthetic witnessed here wasn't universal. Norse warriors, for instance, would often forgo heavy armor in favor of agility, engaging enemy lines with terrifying speed. This allegiance to practicality ensured that battlefield fashion was less about uniformity and more about personal survival strategy. A quick nod to the age-old debate of form versus function. These reflections, spun into vivid reality, transport you deeper into the essence of medieval warfare. Your initial fascination with the allure of armor is beginning to wane under the somber realization of its weight, both physical and symbolic. The heavy metal layers not only served as protective shells, but also embodied the warriors' dedications to their cause, their survival, and the notion that beyond the battle lay the reward of glory, or, at the very least, the comforting release of rest. As you stand motionless for a breath, the sun sets further, casting long shadows over the encampment. Your moment of understanding is peaceful, a curious lull before the storm of the battlefield breaks over you. Your gauntleted hand brushes against the hilt of a weapon that's almost as foreign to you as the landscape that spreads before your eyes. This is not your lightweight, perfectly balanced sporting gear from the comforts of modern recreation. The weaponry of the medieval battlefield tells a tale of brutal pragmatism and oftentimes ingenious design. Each piece is both an artifact of its era and a tool crafted solely for delivering mayhem in the chaos of combat. Before you, a veritable arsenal stretches out, a smorgasbord of lethal implements devised to cleave, crush, pierce, or bludgeon an opponent into submission. As you meander through this medieval armory, you quickly realize that simply swinging a sword might not cut it. You see spears, their sharp tips lustrous and forbidding, offering soldiers the advantage of distance. Historians still argue whether the progression from spear to lance was driven by tactical innovation or mere battlefield circumstance. Either way, their sheer reach remains undeniably intimidating. Not far from the neatly aligned spears stands a rack of swords, their blades glinting as if conspiring to entice. Each one offers subtle differences in form and function. The longsword, with its lengthy blade and versatility, promises both offensive and defensive prowess, depending on a warrior's dexterity. For those favouring swift strikes, the arming sword is splendid, its single-handed grip allowing precision thrusts. Or perhaps you'd prefer the menacing falchion, its curved blade whispering promises of cleaving hits that resurrect ghost stories from the grave. At this moment, you can't help but compare wielding these instruments to those workout videos that circulate online, although somehow replicating medieval warfare in a modern gym seems like an over-enthusiastic form of cosplay. Understanding their weight and purpose illustrates a mastery in martial arts that goes far beyond simple weapon manipulation. Each stroke, parry, and thrust is a testament to years of rigorous practice and survival documentarian-style theatricality. For the source of raw power, there's the mace, a symbol of medieval fear encapsulated in metal. Its heavy head promises a quick, decisive conclusion to any engagement. You can almost see the knights swinging them in brutal arcs above their heads, each impact echoing like the resounding gavel in a court judgment. These don't require the finesse of a sword. Here, it's all about gravity doing its job and coming out on top of your opponent. A few steps farther reveals medieval innovation at its finest: the crossbow. Much like the smartphones of today's world, crossbows were favoured for their convenience, capable of delivering potent force with minimal exertion from the wielder. It's no wonder they became so popular, sparking enthusiasm, not to mention fear, wherever they were employed. Imagine a peasant with minimal training downing a knight with ease. This piece of machinery was a game changer, yet the crossbow's controversial effectiveness would lead to numerous bans by the Pope, who feared its disruptive power. As your gaze dances across this lethal playbook, in the corner of your eye, something lesser known but equally devilish catches your attention: the warhammer, a deceptively simple piece that could shatter armour like it's made of potter's clay. The ingenuity ingrained in its design speaks volumes of martial creativity, its utilitarian form blurring lines between tool and weapon. Yet, for all the historically accurate tidbits, there are quirks amidst this medieval catalogue that tickle your creative fancy. Imagine the flails. Aided by chains, the menacing spiked balls sung through the air with whimsical fervour akin to an alarm clock on a loop, imbuing battle with an unexpectedly comic heartbeat. In recognition of sensory overload brought on by this culinary feast of medieval machinations, you can't help but appreciate that surviving the battlefield involves more than brute force. It requires an intellect finely tuned to selecting and mastering the tool that best bridges the gap between immediate danger and hard-won victory. As you gently place the sword back into its rack, you reflect. If you're to delve deeper into this medieval escapade, comprehending the nuances of weaponry may edge you towards at least surviving one round. Still, every weapon in this glorious lineup is but a piece of the complex puzzle, an equation where human endurance tests boundaries amid the ballet of blades. Eyes adjusting to the sharpening dusk, you anticipate a step deeper into your historical saga, one where survival hinges not only on mere weaponry, but also the warriors surrounding you, each with a past as intricate as the forged tools they wield. Amidst this tableau of clashing metal and fervent shouts, you find yourself surrounded by the inhabitants of this medieval tapestry. A diverse assembly of warriors, whose lives and backgrounds are as varied as the weapons they carry. These are your medieval comrades in arms, and their presence offers a curious blend of comfort and trepidation. There's something surreal about standing shoulder to shoulder with those who, only months ago, might have been tillers of the soil, or blacksmiths forging ploughshares. Picture the scene. A burly figure towers over you, his thick beard flecked with traces of the morning's porridge. As a former miller, he boasts a build honed by years of hefting sacks of grain. With a hearty laugh that bellows even louder than the distant clatter of armour, he slaps your back, sharing tales of a farmhouse back home where his family awaits his return. You can't help but appreciate that this surly miller now channels his formidable strength into swinging his battle-axe, his jovial demeanour a balm against the ever-looming spectre of death. Together with him is a lanky youth, his helmet an awkward fit atop his head, making him look almost comically out of place. His eyes dart nervously as he grips his spear with trembling hands. Once an apprentice in his father's shop, he now stands amidst a reality worlds apart from the quiet art of crafting shoes. Yet, beneath his fumbling exterior, you see a flicker of steadfast determination, a resolve to prove himself amidst the chaos that ravages this medieval melee. The hodgepodge of backgrounds only deepens as you encounter a Menjaka, a wandering mercenary from far lands, part soldier and part raconteur. His presence brings an exotic flair, his armor adorned with trinkets gathered from travels you can only dream of. With a disarming smile, he casually hands out pieces of wisdom, gleaned from campaigns so far-flung they seem better suited to tales of fantasy. His presence is a poignant reminder that some have tread oceans and deserts to land on this same patch of soil, bound by no allegiance other than the promise of coin and adventure. Such camaraderie doesn't just express physical assemblage, but a shared pursuit that transcends societal barriers. You learn that in moments of respite, evenings by crackling fires give birth to stories and shared laughter that cut through the night like arrows through mist. Tales of bravery and resolve meld with the haunting harmonies of a lute, played by a minstrel whose plaintive songs echo the shared yearnings of its listeners. In these gatherings, the lines between noble knights and peasantry blur, cemented not by rank but by the immediacy of the struggle. Yet, it's essential to grasp that not all within your newfound ranks stand willingly. Across the battlefield, bondsmen with thick chains dragging behind troop reluctantly, a tragic catch-22, where they face fates that waver between captured commodity and combatant. Their presence tugs at your understanding of freedom, obliging even you to ponder the lengths men will go when faced with choices that open no door but one leading back to captivity. It's amidst these kindred spirits, burdened with stories untold, that you comprehend the solemn task ahead. This band of warriors is no longer simply a random collection of individuals. They're your lifeline, your allies against the vast uncertainty looming beyond the horizon. It is their combined strength, skill, and unyielding spirit that transform them from mere mortals into heroes of historical legend. With the rich tapestry of human experience intertwined among the chainmail and breastplates, you gain a newfound respect for them all, from knights sworn to sacred vows to the common infantrymen with hearts forged as steely as their swords. Here, the battlefield emerges as not just the arena of physical warfare, but as a crucible of camaraderie that fosters bonds strong enough to transcend even time itself. As the gathering dark begins to shroud the landscape with its inky hues, you take a deep breath, absorbing the energy of this motley crew. For better or worse, they've come to embody a fraternal sense of humanity, an underscore to the perceivable madness. Moments of shared purpose, hinting at timeless truths. You quietly acknowledge that navigating this world, surviving this day, requires more than merely your own tenacity. It demands the solidarity of the eclectic throng beside you, a collective embrace poised against the tides of fate. As dawn slips across the battlefield, you can feel the landscape itself shift beneath your feet. It's an entity of its own, with every ridge and valley holding its breath for what's to come. You stand amidst a tableau richly orchestrated, with swirling mists and an inkling of the day's impending chaos. Here, on the medieval stage, the art of warfare is as much a concoction of tactics and terrain as it is a test of courage and skill. You hear the distant shout of a commander, his voice rising above the chatter of men gearing up for the coming clash. Medieval warfare, you soon realize, is not a simple affair of two armies charging blindly at each other like jousting knights. It's a chess game played on an unsteady board, where each piece, human or natural, carries weight, where forests, hills and riverbeds all become potent allies or treacherous foes. Strategic planning on such a battlefield reflects a cunning intelligence, an ability to read the land like an ancient text. There's the necessity of understanding elevation, how high ground can swiftly convert into advantage, an ancient precursor to the aerial warfare tactics you would recognize today. Those warriors arrayed upon hillsides or ridges are primed to rain down destruction. Gravity lends their arrows a deep, swift arc, while those below must labor against these effective forces of nature. As you contemplate these early risers on their strategic perches, you find yourself sympathizing with infantrymen who must navigate the uncertain terrain below. Even modern shoes would struggle against such uneven ground, prone to turning an ankle on hidden rocks or ensnaring a boot in unseen rabbit holes. But where you might see challenge, they see opportunity, a land that offers concealment, entrapment, and even inspiration for tactical innovation. A horn sounds, a resonant note that reverberates through the air, and with it a flurry of movement disrupts the illusion of tranquility. The bustling transformation is almost theatrical. Formations rearrange purposefully, like a live-action game of Tetris, each piece falling cleverly into place. Strategy is layered with psychological warfare. Banners unfurl and snap in the brisk breeze, their vibrant colours vibrant enough to stir fear or courage in equal measure. Historians still debate whether the elaborate manoeuvres displayed here originated from innate military genius, a Herculean feat of leadership, or perhaps evolved as necessity demanded from the relentless wheel of conflict. Be that as it may, medieval tactics often revolved around the element of surprise, a dynamic experience akin to glancing over your shoulder in a modern haunted house tour. Your eyes trace a line of trebuchets poised at the forest's edge, great mechanical beasts that threaten devastation at a distance. The concept is almost surreal. These ancient machines operate on principles of physics, timeless as the stars. Their reach extends further than the naked eye can discern, marrying technology with muscle, leading campaigns that reshape the literal surface of the earth. In this unfolding chaos, you realize the intricacies of command and control are as fluid as the rivers curling through this land. Orders echo down ranks, distorted yet understood, while scouts weave through terrain like ghosts, relaying intelligence to leaders who must decode its meaning by the sweat of their brow alone. As searching eyes scan for weak points in enemy lines, another age-old tactic flanking emerges, a term you recognize with ease. Yet, here it's executed with a precision that hints at dance, squadrons twisting and bending the battlefield's geography to their needs. A flanking maneuver can spell the ruin of legions or the sudden elevation to glory for those clever enough and fast enough to outmaneuver their opponents. In the midst of all this tactical artistry, one tends to forget the real cost, the toll demanded by strategy that often leaves trails of human wreckage in its wake. Yet it's this relentless pursuit of victory that drives men to feats of ingenuity, prompting new methods of warfare that echo across time even to the present day. As the morning sun fights through overcast skies to lay gentle rays upon the field, you find yourself woven into the fabric of this world, each shift in position and strategy pulling at the threads of history you've unwittingly donned. This beautifully brutal ballet of battle pushes you to grasp that survival demands more than just brute strength. It requires a mastery of tactics, the environment, and the very essence of human wit. Lessons remembered and reinvented in every era. You inhale deeply, aware of the shifting currents around you, ready at last to explore the battlefield not just as a physical space, but as a canvas upon which humanity sketches its enduring dance of war and peace. The battlefield, with its underlying tension quilted in raw anticipation, suddenly bursts to life with the hoisting of banners, their vibrant colours flapping like ardent heralds of intent. These insignias, more than mere decorations, hold stories within their fabric. Stories of lineage, allegiance, and a commitment to the cause at hand. It doesn't take long to realise that these visual guides act as both lifelines and command centres, fluttering across the chaos to orchestrate movements with their silent but powerful language. As you gaze up at the lofty standards waving defiantly overhead, you begin to appreciate the art of heraldry, a symbolic language that's part genealogical map, part inspirational poster. Each stroke and hue, chosen with painstaking care, announces the very soul of the army it represents. The colours hold meaning: red for bravery, gold for generosity, blue for loyalty. A visual shorthand instantly recognisable even from a distance. It's akin to having GPS directions written in an ancestral code, etched onto these fluttering ensigns. These fluttering canvases align with the age-old notion of psychological warfare, acting as beacons of morale while planting seeds of doubt in the enemy's mind. As the sun casts shifting shadows across these majestic displays, it evokes a sense of awe and reverence that underscores the weight of tradition. You realize that beneath the rhythmic choreography of combat dances, an art form composed of heritage and identity, a history lesson moving to the battle's tempo. Within sight, a man rides tall astride his warhorse, the colourful banner held aloft like a lighthouse steering ships through turbulent seas. He is the standard-bearer, nobility wrapped in resolve. Or maybe a seasoned veteran, the troops trust to hold his nerve under fire. The banners flicker and sway guide movements, like an orchestra conductor without sound, steering lines into formations that balance tactics with intuition. Historians still argue whether these banners served more practically as communication tools or simply as psychological symbols of unity and fearlessness. Despite their final verdict, it's clear that each emblazoned pattern tells volumes about the collective resolve of those it oversaw. This language, understood by few, yet meaningful to many, translates across cultures, a precursor to coded transmissions of modern warfare. As you look deeper into this quivering forest of threads, it's undeniable how figures like Joan of Arc co-opted the strength of banners into their legendary iconography, a simple maid from Domremy echoing through ages by leading charges with a standard in hand. Her banner was more than a piece of fabric, it was an emblem, rallying cry woven into silk and vision, lending her movements both divine gravitas and strategic presence. You chuckle to yourself at the impossibility of these banners surviving an arena of modern warfare, a space where reconnaissance drones and encrypted channels now dictate the pace. Yet, even as finite numbers replaced flocking brilliance, a subliminal charge persists in flags, whether red or blue, insisted upon by soccer fans or flown above white houses at half-mast. There's a primal connection we share with symbols, urging us to unify under them, even if we're a world away from the very stratum that birthed their meaning. It's refreshing to recognize a similar, albeit lighter, spirit embodied when friends align themselves with sports teams or certain brands, flags of community, even if they only live on social media. These simple acts echo the medieval rituals you're immersed in here, a delightful reminder of how deeply entrenched ritualistic identity rests within us all. As you take a final sweeping gaze across the sea of rippling fibers, your newfound understanding draws connections from history to the heartstrings that pull at us today. Indeed, this solemn fluttering on the medieval battlefield continues its echo in modern life when we rally around chosen banners, whether physical or metaphorical, since beneath it all lies an expression of unity and shared purpose. In this tapestry of convergence, you prepare to join this journey into a new understanding. A journey where banners rise like beacons of light, enduring monuments to human striving and interconnectedness. The air around you seems to vibrate with a tangible energy, a mix of tension and expectation that builds with every passing minute. The battlefield's symphony reaches into the depths of your consciousness, drawing out a visceral response you didn't know you could have from sound alone. The cacophony of noises, the neighing of horses, the stamping of feet on broken ground, the metallic scrape of swords unsheathing, melds into a soundtrack that could spur even the faint of heart into action, or freeze the most seasoned warrior in their tracks. This auditory landscape, a medley of dissonant notes, paints an immersive picture of life amid the clash of medieval titans. It's not a composed symphony, but rather a chaotic orchestra of conflicting sounds, each competing for your attention. From afar, guttural battle cries rise, lending the air their raw resonance, instilling terror or bolstering courage. These roars, both human and animal, echo across the open field like the primal calls of nature itself, urging life to embrace the raw, unfiltered reality of existence. Amid this clattering storm, the trumpets cut through like the sharp edge of a knife, signaling orders, victories, or retreats with a clarity that defies the pandemonium. You have to wonder how knights and common soldiers alike could discern their particular message amidst such auditory overload. Perhaps it's like a seasoned nightclub goer distinguishing their favourite DJ's beats from a mile away. However, beyond the blaring of horns and the cries of the combatants lies an undercurrent that holds the potential for true dread, the sound of silence. It's a quiet suspension that occasionally drifts over the battlefield, drawing every ear inward, amplifying the sound of your own breath in contrast. This lull, a pause before the storm's zenith, has the tendency to unnerve more effectively than any shout, suggesting that something far more profound looms just out of earshot. The absence of noise fills you with anticipation as potent as the clash itself. There's a world of curiosity in how these sounds influence the battle's outcome, a testimony to the psychology of warfare. A terrain more profound and intangible than the physical space prodded by lances and swords. Those ingrained with the acumen to sense shifts in auditory cues gain an edge, a whisper of an advantage within the stalemate. Perhaps more amusingly, there's the ongoing debate over auditory overload in medieval battles. Some historians argue that the soundscape was carefully orchestrated chaos, designed to disorient foes while rallying allies. Even the belligerent clank of armour becomes an essential chord in this medieval composition, enveloping those on the field in a symphony of their own choosing, a war drum with every footfall, a crescendo with each cannonball. The unique sounds of battle serve as an unofficial herald, a prologue woven into the psyche of soldiers both seasoned and fresh. They are a reminder that every clink and thud on the battlefield echoes down time, much like eager fans imitate with modern clatter in stadiums or TV broadcasts, cheering with cups or stomping feet. As you allow these noises, each with its tale of valour and fear, adrenaline and exhaustion, to wash over you, it crosses your mind that within this overwhelming acoustic onslaught lies an undeniable connection to all those spirits who once roamed these ancient fields. Their echoes remain, a testament not only to their struggle, but also to the marvellous endurance of human expression through sound. The last rays of the setting sun bathe the landscape in a warm glow, casting elongated shadows that heighten your awareness of each rustle and shout. You listen with renewed focus, enthralled by each shift in pitch and volume. With this newfound understanding, you appreciate the knowledge that survival in these harsh climes meant more than brute force or clever strategy. It required attunement to the symphony of life and death, a resonance that continues to define the essence of the battlefield in deeply humanistic tones. As dawn creeps ever higher above the battleground, the troops around you begin to muster, their weary limbs groaning beneath the weight of armour and armaments. All this effort leads up to a momentous charge, and yet, before the battle itself even begins, there is a trial to endure that is less violent but no less punishing. The long march. Whether to converge upon a battleground or establish dominance through sheer presence, these marches stretch across vast tracts of landscape, testing endurance far before any enemy lines are breached. Picture yourself harnessing your internal GPS, plotting a path through terrain that at times seems unchanged since the dawn of time. Mud, rocks, and unrelenting gradients transform the simple act of moving forward into something bordering on Herculean. What might seem like a quaint countryside stroll from a modern viewpoint swiftly becomes an unyielding march of endurance, where each footfall feels commandeered by the very ground you're attempting to conquer. As you journey beside fellow soldiers, the moments between distant skirmishes offer glimpses of the tactical genius inherent in addressing the military logistics of the era. Moving countless men and horses, along with all the associated weaponry and provisions, becomes a strategic exercise fondly debated among scholars. They still argue whether logistical planning, akin to running a mobile medieval village, was a feat of raw leadership or sheer desperation. The human chain undulates like a living organism across the terrain, palpating with an energy kept alive by shared resilience. With every step, the camaraderie formed along these interminable paths bears witness to an intrinsic understanding between comrades. Language barriers and cultural differences aside, your fellow soldiers share the bonds forged through shared adversity, a reminder that, at its core, the march is as much about bonding as it is about movement. An unexpected laugh erupts from within your ranks, diffused by the lilt of a bard's voice crooning an impromptu marching song. His lilting tunes meander past boughs, stirring breezes even brighter than the dawn to ruffle your hair. His songs infuse this relentless marathon with much-noted levity, their words narrating heroic epics, comedic interludes, and tales so outlandish they make modern reality TV plots seem conservative by comparison. As you traverse countryside paths and winding trails, modern life's quiet comforts appear ever more distant. The slow, undulating passage mocks your aching feet, yet at every village the cartography of life resumes harmony. Villages offer alms of fresh bread and dried fruit to travellers dragging war behind their heels. Here, townspeople provide sustenance, carrying within it folk wisdom far richer than what's gained from royal courts. The occasional stream provides a welcome sight, its crystalline flowbreak from grueling monotony. These moments are sanctuaries amidst the march, inspiring exclamations of joy, more effusive than a modern-day finding of a hidden Wi-Fi signal. You can still taste memories of lore that paint these waters with tales of enchantment and mysticism, washed through medieval minds as physical and spiritual refreshments. It doesn't hurt that with these marching forays across the land comes the unexpected marvels, the tapestry of medieval life, flaunting its colours in quieter times. The painters, weavers and merchants offering curiosities that bring flashes of the exotic to even the dullest rations. But alas, hope is mixed with dread. Every step brings you closer to the uncertainties that lie over the unmarked hill. The terrain itself, whether crumbling paths or tempestuous rivers, plays the role of silent arbitrator, forcing skillful navigation and uneasy truces among would-be adversaries. It serves as nature's noble yet impartial jury, rendering judgment without partiality, reminding one ever poetically that even should mechanical trappings create divisions, no soldier can entirely escape the pull of earth and sky. In this long day's march, you come to appreciate that medieval warfare's reality is as gritty as the dirt packed under your nails. This communal odyssey, built with the sinew of resolve, echoes the resilience deep within our very spirits. For what's war but an all-encompassing test meant to reveal the core of human nature? The sun now kisses the horizon's edge, a symbolic finish line to this segment of the journey. Refocusing on this pilgrimage of men, women and warhorses, feel yourself becoming one with the artistry of walking as transition, a bridge between worlds of tension and release, vulnerability and strength, ongoing within the drift that life insists everyone experiences. But amid these carefully plotted footsteps, note that while the march of time remains infinite, your odyssey through the realities of medieval warfare today inches closer to its gripping crescendo. The sun, now a muted yellow orb tangled in the grasp of a lazy afternoon, casts a warm glow over the scattered labyrinth of tents that makes up the temporary home of the battlefield, the camp. Here, the organised chaos of marching gives way to a different kind of order, one full of mundane routines and the subtle rituals of camp life that are both necessary and, oddly enough, comforting. As you wander into the heart of this buzzing settlement, you're immediately hit by the earthy aroma of campfires, mingling with the scent of stew simmering in great pots. The soldiers, released from the more immediate demands of battle, engage in the simple pleasures of medieval downtime. They tend to their gear with an almost reverent meticulousness, knowing well enough that each piece of armour, each sharpened blade, could tip the scale between life and death in the coming conflict. Historians still debate the exact dynamics and logistics of medieval camp life, whether the organisation was as disciplined as a modern military base or collapsible into disarray with the slightest provocation. Nonetheless, you see that within these humble setups lies an intricate system of supply lines and resource management that might make even today's supply chain managers scratch their heads. Campfire stories ground these warrior interactions, lend a light-hearted air, and evoke laughter spirited enough to echo through the times. Around the fires, shared narratives extend back centuries, recounting not only heroic deeds, but also more personal yarns that preserve moral lessons and familial lore. Here, the bards may spin tales meant to entertain, yet interwoven within these stories are whispers of wisdom, teachings as essential as any combat training. Within the medical tents, a hub of healing and respite, your attention turns to rudimentary yet clever techniques employed to mend bodies strained by warfare. The healer, a woman in a hooded cloak, tends wounds with a deft touch, employing herbs and poultices passed down through generations. She quiets the suffering with both salves and soothing words, displaying an expertise nearly lost to time in today's era of pharmaceuticals. Further away, a bustling quarter of artisans lends an uncanny vibrancy to this insular world. The armourer forges repairs in rings of chainmail, each ping of the hammer echoing with the certainty of skill honed to absolute precision. There's the Fletcher, crafting arrows with purpose, feathers smoothed with a light touch, their shafts crafted from the finest willow, silently reminding you that even basic tools of war demand expert hands. A group of soldiers takes a moment to play a game of chess, or its medieval equivalent, levering strategy over wooden pieces in miniature quests for victory. The game embodies the battlefield's essence in microcosm, where the lessons learned at play become tactics when scaled up to the theatre of war. Their playful banter provides a brief reprieve from the gravity of their reality, a tenuous tether to leisure, reminding you that even here, humanity presses through stoically against the encroaching shadows. You catch sight of the minstrels, roaming through the lanes, good-natured jesters clad in bright motley garb. Their joviality, an omnipresent antidote to the surrounding severity, lifts weary spirits and lightens heavy hearts with songs of valor and satire, a gentle prodding of revered figures less effective than morale built through the laughter that follows them. While wandering through such varied environs, you find yourself quietly admiring the genuine resourcefulness of camp life, a testament to medieval society's ability to adapt, particularly when faced with an ever-shifting reality. This incredible interplay between resilience and resolution resonates through the ages, reminding you that hardship molds grit, both then and now. The quiet spill of twilight harbours a temporary hush over the camp. Shadows weave into a veil of comfort, cloaking the weary and contented alike, offering pockets of respite between the rapid-fire chaos to follow. These moments of simplicity allow for reflection and cohesion beneath the stars. Stellar sentinels watching over the hearts of warriors poised on the brink of history. This tapestry of camaraderie and adaptability crafts an existence made from the texture of a shared journey. Within this medieval microcosm, you swiftly overcome any temptations of romanticism, instead celebrating the truth behind struggle. A story written in the laughs shared, the meals cooked communally, and bonds formed beyond the battlefield. Your night's end draws near and exhaustion creeps in, but the lessons lent by camp life rejuvenate your spirit, with the knowledge that even in a time poised on the edge of fortune and fire, connection is the silver thread that remains unyielding against time's indifferent hand. A sense of grim determination settles over the camp as whispers of an approaching siege circulate among the gathered ranks. Perhaps it's the way the clouds loom overhead, like a portentous ceiling, or the dry rustle of the wind sneaking through the tents. Regardless, you can feel the palpable shift from restless waiting to anxious anticipation as the soldiers prepare for a prolonged engagement. An undesirable yet inextricable aspect of medieval warfare, the siege. As you step towards the edge of camp, the imposing shadow of fortified walls looms, the objective around which these cycles of attempts and defences revolve. A siege demands an entirely different atmosphere, replacing the thrill of direct confrontation with the heavy dread of patience tested and supplies thinning. It's a clash of wills measured not in mere hours but weeks, even months, with attrition serving as both ally and enemy. The daunting strategic conundrum that sieges represent is something modern thinkers can appreciate, their complex logistics akin to puzzle games that test players' resolve as much as their intellect. Within this vein lies a crucial scholarly debate, whether the art of the siege was governed by calculated planning or became a theatre of unchangeable circumstance, dictated largely by the whims of fortune and weather. You absorb the preparations unfolding before you. Supplies, a plentiful stock of dried meat, hardtack and drink, are gathered and distributed among squadrons. The cleverness of medieval ingenuity shines through as soldiers repurpose scavenged materials, discarded wood to patch makeshift barricades, or bits of iron crafted into impromptu weapons. The capable blacksmiths, with an air of unyielding patience, labour over repairs to strengthen both fortification and morale. Siege engines, our ancestors' answer to modern artillery, come into view. Catapults and siege towers, oiled mechanisms ready to amplify human brute force. Their construction, complex and oftentimes ingenious, underscores the Milanese craft. The skilled engineering that led to remarkable devices capable of breaching walls thought impenetrable. Their presence is both reassuring and fearsome, symbols of dominance poised at the cusp of change. Then there's the digging of trenches, labour as taxing as any tour of duty. Grease-smeared soldiers swap tales of hardship while shovels bite into the stubborn earth. Each churning pile of dirt brings the contest closer, each gain of terrain marked by the sweat of mortal brow as they burrow minds and bodies deep into indispensable tasks. Meanwhile, far from the front lines is the emergence of the most profound weapon, time. As the siege drags on, it's what lies unseen that truly threatens. You catch sight of a surgeon tending to the wounded, blending elixirs with a deliberate touch. The assistant by his side hands him pestled herbs and freshly struck flints, a poignant reminder of the maladies that fester within defences that risk becoming a living tomb. For those trapped inside the walls, a different fight awaits. Stories of ennui and hunger dog these captive footsteps, their souls caught in mundane cycles exacerbated by scarcity and longing. Communication between the besiegers and besieged is fraught with posturing, mediated by haphazard couriers who run the gauntlet of archers to make desperate pleas. Historians still remain at odds when pinpointing siege protocols, those unspoken rules guiding conduct, parole, and defections. But what grows clear is that attrition redefines expectations amidst those waiting. It becomes both ally and enemy, promising resolution in due course with dispassionate certainty. Yet, moments emerge where pressure yields unexpected opportunity, where messengers amid white flags dance awkwardly between acts of desperation and negotiation. The camp becomes both haven and prison, the drawing out of days testing willpower as wits are pitted. Storytellers weave soothing words into the night air, tales constructed to embrace the wearied spirit. On occasion, gallows humour finds a realm of choice, practical jokes stirred by desperation, fostering bawdy laughter, fragile as blown glass. Time's crawl through siege unveils shadows of doubt, casting doubts with no easy solutions and certainties flavoured thin as famine broth. Yet, within mankind's enduring dance against fate, patience and persistence remain stalwart allies. Beneath starlit skies, hope sways gently alongside the banners, rallied by the songs of tomorrow's promise washing lightly against lips. As this night wanes and the twinkling vestiges above dim, you realise that you've learned not just what it means to withstand a siege, but how to navigate the ebb and flow of conflict itself. For in these unending cycles, connections formed sustain these spirits against an indifferent horizon, inscribing tenacity into each heart, prepared to meet destiny head-on. Amongst the murmur of camp life in the shadow of looming walls, whispers of alliances and political manoeuvrings weave through the conversations like threads in a tapestry. The medieval battlefield is not just a stage for physical combat, it's a spider's web of fragile allegiances, each thread woven with intricate diplomacy and ambition. Today you find yourself embroiled in a realm where loyalties shift, nobles scheme, and the ground beneath your feet may well change in the blink of an eye. You sense the invisible currents of political intent as you circulate amongst the camp, each conversation carrying with it the weight of whispered pacts and clandestine agreements. The very air hums with the potential for betrayal and the countless favours already exchanged by candlelight over wines and war maps. In this place, allegiances are the Queen's gambit of warfare, flexible, strategic, and cunningly deceptive. Historians still argue whether medieval political alliances were purely transactional, or if genuine camaraderie sometimes played a role. Regardless of the truth, you notice how bonds appear fickle, yet paradoxically cemented by shared goals. A delicate dance where mercenary valour overlaps with noble suzerainty, blurred by gold-laden incentives sparkling at intersections, like medieval Uber ratings sparkling beside Netflix reviews. As you remember the diplomatic spiders, lords and ladies twisting gossamer agreements in varied facilities riddled through courtly paths, you discern a meeting at the tent pavilion, hidden under the guise of discussing strategy. Upon entering, you're struck by the sheer array of personalities present. Here, competing interests converge in a delicate balance of power. The knight seeking glory, the noble piqued by promises of land, and the merchant hoping for trade privileges in a burgeoning economy. Voices rise and fall in a boisterous blend of demands and counter-demands, each participant acutely aware that today's rival may be tomorrow's ally, or vice versa. It's bemusing to note just how closely tied these alliances are to the whims of personality. Equal parts charm and coercion, diplomacy is an art form both respected and reviled. With a finely tuned political ear, a discerning player can net allies with the aplomb of a modern diplomat, forging trade agreements alongside a turbulent brunch committee meeting. Elsewhere, envoys flit between camps, their journeys steeped in subterfuge as they slip past guards, carrying coded messages. An early precursor to encrypted texts, if ever there was one. These diplomatic foot soldiers, notorious for their ability to turn the tide of battle with a well-timed whisper, have souls akin to modern-day James Bonds, operating without the snazzy gadgets. Allegiances form through an amalgamation of family ties and strategic courtship, often sealed by marriage. Diplomatic unions that safeguard realms and weary hearts alike. You see a hesitant prince, gaze fixed on a family crest not his own, an emblem of political stability sewn deep into his future. His resignation speaks volumes of the paradoxical balance sought in forging kinship between kingdoms through marriage, a gesture both high-minded and humbling, mortared in history's ruthless silken pursuit of peace. Mercenaries, draped in impertinent swagger, straddle no specific line but side with the highest reward. Even here, threadbare allegiances must bend to their sway, as these free blades can dictate outcomes. Warrior pirates who value chaos as currency, thriving amidst nations' fiery titans as they deliver decisive nights in a dawn-filled world. Fickle saviors one day, formidable adversaries the next, their ever-forging friendship with flames and coin alike, reminding you of the lucrative intrigue bolstered by wielded trust. As daylight loses its fervour, notions of alliance deepen within your imagination, a narrative pinned upon intrepid curiosity seeking symmetry beneath chaos. You realize that medieval battlegrounds are not just fought with steel and valor, but subtle machinations, politics cloaked in combat armor, trade pacts layered beneath chainmail. It's a realm where the warm glow of diplomacy parries death's encroaching shadow, subtly binding commitments together as stones upheld by sapling roots. The torch-laden night offers fleeting stillness before another day unleashes its possibilities anew. Here, amidst whispered pledges and voiced credentials, you pause to reflect on what allegiance in the medieval world entails. An enigmatic dance where integrity twines spirit, forging strength within solidarity, while alliances shimmer in the flickering glow of history's enigmatic light. As the camp settles into its nightly routine, a hushed unease slowly permeates the air, creeping around the tents like a shadow you're loath to acknowledge. When considering the challenges of medieval warfare, the clang of swords and cries of knights often take center stage. Yet the ever-present spectre of illness looms just as large, threatening to decimate armies before they even face the enemy. In this time, disease holds a relentless grip, an invisible adversary every bit as perilous as any sword or siege engine. Sickness, both mysterious and mundane, stalks the ranks as you wander the dimly lit pathways between tents. It's in the persistent cough of the soldier next to you, a cough that hacks through the night like an unwelcome herald. It's lingering in the paleness of another's face, skin clammy and cold despite the fire's proximity. You come to understand that medieval armies clashed not only with enemies but with germs and ailments, challenging adversaries that could tip the scales regardless of tactical prowess. You're struck by the frenetic determination of the camp's healers, their redoubled efforts to combat the unseen scourge before it reaches its crescendo. It's fascinating to witness the confluence of traditional lore and innovative thinking. There's the aroma of freshly crushed herbs, their scent mingling with the campfire's smoke in an apothecary's dance of hope. Calendula blooms and garlic cloves blend with more exotic imports, concoctions crafted with painstaking care to treat infections or fever. Yet, for every remedy that inspires confidence, superstition often clouds judgment, leading to peculiar rituals intended to ward off disease. You watch as a soldier stares intently at a charmed amulet, convinced its presence acts as a talisman against misfortune. Historians still debate whether these oddities offered peace of mind in unsettled times, or merely granted comfort through placebo effect. Nonetheless, you appreciate that within these talismans lies a testament to the persistent quest for understanding. In this theatre of medicinal warfare, understanding the contagious nature of illness remains limited. Cramped quarters and unsanitary conditions compound the threat, a tragic reminder of how proximity can transform allies into unwitting carriers. Even a simple cough can spread through ranks faster than rumours of retreat, an insidious perpetrator acting with no regard for armour or status. There's something almost poignant in watching the camp struggle to stave off infections like dysentery, constantly testing the boundaries between progress and ignorance. Physicians and nurses labour under their makeshift awnings, washing hands with a fervour that mimics modern hygiene practices, albeit without modern understanding of why these measures help. Amidst these efforts, you catch snippets of conversations as soldiers discuss legends of mysterious healers dwelling in the forests, elusive figures whose knowledge rivals that of established practitioners. Some whisper tales of miraculous cures granted by forest-dwelling herbalists, a curious amalgam of truth, myth, and hope that evokes the perennial yearning for miracles amidst despair. And yet, not all maladies take the form of physical deterioration. The seeds of doubt planted during dreary pauses between skirmishes feed into anxiety, causing restlessness among the ranks. The psychological battles waged within merge seamlessly with fears of the rampant illness, creating an atmosphere fraught with tension, as if every breath carries potential malevolence. It's an uncanny reminder that warfare is as much about mental fortitude as physical prowess. As night drapes the landscape in its comforting darkness, you find yourself reflecting on the mettle required to persist in an environment fraught with such vulnerability. Each cough, each fevered brow, solidifies your admiration for these warriors of old, individuals who battled foes unseen, alongside those that left visible scars. In such moments, the camaraderie born of mutual struggle emerges strongly. There is a quiet solace in shared hardship, a coming together in collective strength. Sitting by the crackling fire, you watch as these medieval soldiers lean on one another in ways that transcend the limitations of their time, drawn tighter by their shared trials. Gathering your thoughts, you acknowledge the hard truth facing you on this journey, that the combatants of yesteryear were not merely fighters in physical contests, but navigators of the precarious balance between life and loss. As the visiting night embraces the camp, you recognize the resilience that pushes humans to not only endure in such conditions, but also to forge forward, kindling hope in the unwelcome advent of an uncertain dawn. As the ethereal curtain of night peels away, allowing the first blush of dawn to spill over the camp, you find yourself contemplating an unspoken code that binds many of the warriors gathered here. A chivalric ethos that serves both as a guiding principle and a mark of distinction, the code of chivalry. In the complex tapestry of medieval life, it's a force that seeks to add structure and honor to the unpredictability of war. On this waking landscape, knights begin their morning routines, arms glinting with renewed fervor as they prepare for the day ahead. These individuals have pledged to uphold a code that transcends personal survival, embracing virtues that honor their lineage and guide their interactions on and off the battlefield. The scope of this code is rich and layered, ranging from obedience and valor to generosity and courtesy, balancing the ferocity of combat with ideals that have resonated through generations. You're drawn into conversations between knights and squires, the young men entrusted with the caretaking of their liege's armor, and more. These squires, themselves on the cusp of knighthood, echo elements of the chivalric code in their every action, imbibing honor and duty like a fervent mantra. You notice the careful interplay of gestures, the respect with which a squire hands a knight his helm, the subtle nod exchange that seals an oath of mutual trust. This code, though noble in intent, remains an evolving doctrine open to interpretation and debate even amongst historians today. Some argue that chivalry was less an altruistic ideal and more a means of preserving social order amidst rampant feudal rivalries. Regardless, the essence of this code lies in the aspiration to transcend baser human instincts, shaping warriors to adhere to principles that elevate their deeds beyond survival. You observe the duelists of this era, swordsmen and horsemen alike, practicing with rhythmic precision. Their movements are a dance of honor, imbued with more than just the mechanical execution of warfare. It's a vocabulary written in steel, each clash of swords reflecting a choice between brutality and mercy. You have heard tales of disgraced knights seeking redemption through acts of chivalric valor, their stories woven into the vast lore that defines this battlefield as much as the weapons it bears. In the midst of this chivalric spectacle, you encounter the joust, an activity that marries sport with war. The sheer energy of the event engages your senses, an adrenaline-fueled contest where opponents face off in calculated, high-stakes displays of skill and courage. Yet, while jousts may serve as a grand display of martial prowess, they are underscored by the intricate dance of chivalric fidelity, grace, and camaraderie, celebrating a knight's unwavering commitment to the code. You watch as a seasoned knight guides his steed with an ease punctuated with firm control, his lance lowered in respect to an opponent whose valor he admires. There's an unspoken poetry to this scene, that within a whirlwind of competition and aggression, reverberations of mutual respect pulse through every collision, each different hammer strike lending form to honor. The complexities and contradictions inherent to the chivalric code are fascinatingly wrought into the tapestry of medieval life. Tales of Arthurian legends, Lancelots and Galahads, affirm a culture of romanticized gallantry, set against the grim reality faced by those warriors transcending mortal frailty. The seams between legendary ideal and tangible endeavour are often blurred, granting knights, even today, a space in the collective imagination that is both aspirational and flawed. Standing amidst their campfires and whispered prayers, you're drawn to understanding the motivations that drive these individuals to adhere to a code, often dismissed by the unknighted. Perhaps the allure lies in its transcendence, an opportunity to rise above instinctual savagery and attain sublimation within strife. It echoes through time, as soldiers reach toward unity, understanding that in honour lies a sense of immortality, unattainable by mere conquest alone. As you prepare to rejoin the march of history, you can't help but reflect on the enduring power of ideals, a principle so rooted in ancient chivalry that it remains a linchpin even in the hereafter. The codes and creeds guiding our lives continue to be as essential as any blade sharpened, forging pathways where courage melds with compassion in tribute to the knights of yore. Through their example, you envision a medieval battlefield awash not only in battle's hue, but in the shining brilliance of human aspiration, triumphant through the ages. As the first rays of morning light warm the encampment, their golden touch uncovering the landscape, you find yourself drawn to often overlooked figures who play crucial roles in the tapestry of medieval warfare. The women who stand beside, behind, and beyond the battlefield. While the clatter and clang of combat may predominantly feature men, the influential presence of women in medieval warfare weaves a parallel narrative all its own. Within the heart of the camp, you observe women deftly moving through their routines, proving that their contributions extend far beyond what was once a limited societal expectation. Whether tending to the mundane tasks of mending armour and clothing, or preparing food for the weary soldiers, their roles are, without question, indispensable to the camp's function. It's the women who organise, sustain and bolster an army's morale, acting as a foundation for the brutal quests of knights and soldiers alike. As historians continue to debate the bounds of women's engagement in medieval warfare, whether their influence was orchestrated chiefly behind the scenes or directly within battles, you note how tales of exceptional women challenge preconceived notions. Figures like Joan of Arc loom larger than life, their legacies a mix of martial prowess and spiritual fervour. Yet beyond these extraordinary stories, other women, queens, noblewomen and commoners, demonstrated remarkable agency in shaping events, through strategic marriages, negotiations, and even direct combat. Strolling through the camp, you're mesmerized by the storytelling circle. A group of women weave tales filled with valor and strategy, their spoken words laced with forgotten wisdom. These stories enchant the soldiers, preserving lineage and legacy much as the male warriors themselves perpetuate through physical combat. Listening to them speak of distant relatives heralded as shield maidens, a women who've donned armour to fight alongside their kin, you marvel at the sheer resolve etched into their expressions. Further along you observe a striking scene, a woman wrapped in armour, perhaps a rare sight yet rooted in the undeniable reality of history. Her presence is a testament to the involvement of women in battle, contradiction to stereotyped constraints. Though such roles may be contentious among scholars, with some questioning their prevalence, her gleaming breastplate speaks a truth unreachable by words alone. Courage knows no gender, nor is heroism confined by expectation. Beyond direct involvement on the battlefield, women of the court wield influence with equal power, engaged in the subtleties of diplomacy and intrigue. Many act as regents, governing while their husbands wage war or crafting treaties with a deft hand. Their relational networks of rich tapestries of allegiances often span continents, binding kingdoms through marriages forged on their very negotiations. It's here you comprehend the wider expanse of their influence, where decision meets destiny and history is moulded by female agency. In quieter corners of the camp, midwives consult with healers, sharing lore that extends past generations. Their knowledge of plants and poultices serves the dual purpose of healing and fortifying, alchemizing nature's bounty into remedy and resource. Whispered remedies for infections or charms against ill omens linger in their hands. The art of healing aligned with medieval science in ways science might disregard, but poetry must preserve. As dusk begins to reclaim the day, you understand that the contribution of women to medieval warfare extends beyond recorded exploits. It resonates with the backbone of history, whispered on the winds of heedless acknowledgement. These women, who shape tales both within the glorious battles and beyond, are seldom spotlighted outside obscure chronicles, yet remain unfazed within the praises of realms and hearts they reshape. Their legacy, often buried beneath armoured silhouettes and bated breath within castle walls, lingers underscored by a nuanced determination. You walk away, revelling in a newfound understanding, a deeper acknowledgement that in a realm long remembered for its male warriors, women whisper beneath the shouts, ensuring that history bears witness not just to those who rode to battle, but to those who gave them reason and means to return home victorious. As the camp buzzes with preparations for the forthcoming engagement, another fascinating group draws your attention: the Mercenaries. These soldiers for hire move through the camp with an air of nonchalance, seasoned fighters with lives defined by the transience of allegiance to the highest bidder. For these warriors, the battlefield offers both livelihood and adventure, and they present a nuanced dynamic to the unfolding saga of medieval warfare. You watch these mercenaries as they interact with others, their camaraderie forged anew with each contract. They stand as enigmas in this world driven by noble oaths and feudal duty. Riddles wrapped in chainmail, embodying the raw, pragmatic side of warfare that defies the romantic notions often attached to knights and chivalry. These warriors navigate a moral landscape as complex as any court intrigue, anchored not by loyalty to land or lord, but by coin and the opportunities it brings. The presence of mercenaries is a double-edged sword, offering both strategic advantage and the looming question of trust. Today's fierce allies might become tomorrow's ruthless adversaries should a more enticing offer emerge. Historians often discuss whether these warriors destabilized traditional armies, or if their inclusion was a stroke of practicality, leveraging specialized skills honed across diverse battlegrounds. Regardless, their influence is undeniable, shadowed by a mercurial loyalty tempered in the fires of necessary survival. As you engage with one mercenary, a grizzled veteran with stories aplenty etched into the lines of his leathery face, it's clear these soldiers often bring with them a wealth of experience. His tales of foreign lands and conflicts far-flung enrich the campfires around which they're shared, adding layers of complexity and understanding to the strategies being devised. You imagine his sword arm, carrying knowledge as valuable as it is deadly, a currency that transcends borders, uniting warriors in their shared understanding of combat's universal language. Layered beneath their pragmatic exteriors, there linger whispers of their own unwavering codes of honor, bonds formed in the crucible of battle. Even among these hired hands, there's a certain respect for camaraderie, friendships born of shared chaos, each battle feeding kindling into the flame of their wartime fraternity. You find yourself wondering if, even then, these bonds might offer continuity amid the clamor of conflicting loyalties. It's tempting to dismiss mercenaries as mere opportunists, yet there's something endearing about their narratives, a romanticism not tied to idealistic exploits, but to the quest for freedom, unbounded by feudal restraint. In these soldiers lies a freedom most knights cannot claim, a mobile allegiance to self-preservation and pursuit of personal gain that ends with heavy pockets rather than grand accolades. The storied existence of these soldiers evokes within you the notion of modern freelancing, where allegiance shifts not for empire or destiny, but flourish of talent wherever compelled. Modern parallels in the workforce, where skills navigate seamlessly through intersecting industries, play a thin veil upon these historical musings, resonating with a truth spanning centuries, the art of remaining teachable while forging one's own lineage upon history's stars. As the sun sets, casting long shadows that stretch across the camp, you reflect on the role of mercenaries in this clash of empires and ambition. They encapsulate both the uncertainty and promise that medieval warfare holds, an intersection where ambition meets reality, forged in steel and blood. Your heart sways with the knowledge gained on this journey, recognizing that mercenaries mirror society's evolving narratives. Each swing of their blade crafts the story of unyielding adaptability, displaying their own heroic tenacity as their paths cross through the tapestry of time. As the night embraces the camp once more, you stride away with a rich understanding, contemplating both the mercenaries' fleeting presence and enduring impact on this medieval theatre, a stage set ablaze with the dance of destiny and destiny's hired hand. As the sun casts its languid glow across the medieval landscape, the battlefield readies itself for another dance of steel and sinew. Yet, beneath the armoured surface, there exists a less tangible yet deeply entrenched combat. A battle of morals and ethics that bespeaks the complicated human condition amidst the stark clarity of war. Here you find yourself immersed in the moral quandaries faced by men and women whose choices ripple far beyond the sand and soil they tread. Standing amid the bustling preparations, you realize that wars are not just contests of might, but of minds and morals. What elevated codes guide a warrior's conduct amidst carnage, you wonder? You glance at a young knight furrowing his brow over a decision that toes the line between personal valor and noble intent. His inner conflict is palpable in that one still moment amid frenzy, leading you to ponder the ethics that anchor warriors in this timeless milieu. In this world, the chivalric code acts as a guiding beacon, illuminating paths for knights through moral greyness, proffering ideals such as courage, honor, and altruism. Yet history reminds you that chivalry is not immune to the murky ethics of duty. Often, these noble premises clash violently with the realities of survival. The art of war demands choices that blend ideals with necessity, swirling as uncomfortably as oil in water. Even as knights profess values of mercy and fairness, their declarations juxtapose against the ruthless tactics necessary for battlefield success. Historians continue to debate whether knights truly adhered to the ethos of chivalry, or if it served as a romanticized veneer over medieval brutality. Nonetheless, through this living tableau you perceive the struggle, not merely against others, but against oneself, a duel between virtue and pragmatism enduring in the human soul. Nearby, the camp teems with stories entwined with these moral dilemmas, spoken in hushed tones by campfires flickering against the encroaching twilight. Warriors share tales of split-second decisions, the instinct to spare a foe pleading for mercy, or the ethical weight of raiding villages to secure one's own sustenance. These stories resonate through time, reflecting both the fearsome capability for compassion and the inescapable presence of savagery within mankind. Amidst this weighing of choices, you notice the nobles and leaders huddled over maps, their strategic discussions laced with morality masked as decisiveness. It's a game as timeless as chess, where each move gambles lives and livelihood against the impossible balance of righteousness. Do they steer their efforts towards valor, upholding comradeship and minimizing destruction, or prioritizing swift victory at any cost? In the fringes of the camp resound the more unyielding debates, echoing through clerical interjections and spiritual counsel. Monks and priests gather, offering absolution and contemplation, speaking of divine will and predestination, with the hope of quelling the turbulent conscience of warriors poised on the brink of pivotal action. It is a delicate negotiation, one that persists within the heat of clashing swords and quietude alike, lending a spiritual whisper to the pragmatic din. As the day's sounds begin to taper, blending slowly into the whispers of the coming night, you identify with a quiet conclusion. The moral challenges, brazing their fibre into medieval warfare, remain ever relevant. The ethical landscape, though fraught with peril and fault lines, is coloured by individuals striving to discern right from wrong amidst chaos. With each insight gathered, you realise how the acts performed on these battlefields echo beyond forgotten corridors, their impacting arcs dissected through ages as we too wrestle with rightness in the face of adversity. Buried within each worn talisman and every whispered confession rests an affirmation that amidst conflict and chaos, humanity's great quest for integrity and honour continues its fervent plea, shining dimly but resolutely through the river of time. As you retreat from the campfires, leaving behind echoes of laughter and lamentation, you carry within you the quiet certainty that this medieval world, so seemingly distant from our own, is inexorably tethered to the same moral compass we navigate today. While the settings and characters may shift, the fundamental grappling with ethics and the choices we must make remain eternal. This recognition becomes a thread of continuity, extending from past to present, reminding you of the universality of striving towards the light amid consuming darkness. As the sun climbs higher into the pale blue sky, casting its warm rays onto the bustling camp beneath, your attention is drawn to the ingenuity of medieval siege weaponry, an array of mechanical marvels that promise both awe and terror in equal measure. Here on the battlefield, these formidable machines stand ready as silent sentinels, each with a role to play in the unfolding drama of warfare, each a testament to human innovation in the face of adversity. From a distance, the towering siege engines command your gaze. Their intricate constructions of wood and iron challenge the assumption that medieval technology was simple and unsophisticated. You walk among them, touching the cool metal fittings and tracing the grain of the wood, appreciating the craftsmanship and thought woven into every joint and wheel. These are far more than mere constructions. They are the physical manifestation of strategic innovation. The first device that captures your interest is the trebuchet, its elegant arm poised like that of a mindful observer waiting to spring into action. This marvel, capable of hurling stones with devastating force, uses the counterweight principle to launch projectiles great distances with surprising accuracy. As you linger nearby, daydreaming of pinball machines and their similarities to medieval war machines, you can almost envision the giant rocks arcing through the sky, tracing graceful parabolas before crashing into fortress walls with earth-shaking impact. Nearby, the humble catapult stands, more compact yet no less effective. Its tension-powered mechanism allows for rapid reloading and firing, a machine of war reminiscent of modern-day quick action. You can almost hear the staccato beat reminiscent of an engine revving up as the projectile barrels toward its target, driven by a crescendo of released tension. The catapult's simple elegance belies its fearsome potential, embodying the converging brilliance of mechanical design and purpose. As you continue to explore, the battering ram presents itself, its massive bulk resembling an extension of ancient siegecraft. This bending mechanism of destruction, often capped with a metal head, is designed to breach gates and walls, exploiting the brute force of localized impact. Historical records speak of rams assembled from the stoutest timbers, carried forward under protective roofs by resolute men, each step echoing through time as an anthem of persistence and courage. The creativity behind these machines extends beyond physical combative ingenuity. Siege towers, too, rise from the ground, their multi-purpose architecture bearing carefully planned platforms for archers and raiders to storm fortifications. An advanced strategy akin to laying out an intricate puzzle of vertical warfare. The precision involved in rolling one of these structures toward towering stone walls must have rivaled the satisfaction found in aligning tumbling dominoes, fulfilling a splendid choreography of perseverance and engineering. Scholars have often debated the evolution of these engines, pondering how necessity spurred invention amidst a landscape that was ever-changing. Historians still argue whether these advances came naturally or through the amalgamation of global knowledge. An ode to shared discovery across cultures. These siege engines double as psychological weapons, using their sheer presence to demoralize defenders long before stones touch masonry. The anticipation alone becomes part of the weapon's arsenal, a looming threat playing on the minds of those besieged, urging surrender before the first blow is struck. The stories of conquerors shielding their machines with troves of deception, altering tactics to increase their fearsome reputation, echo through the ages, a timeless testament to the intersection of tradition and terror. You marvel at how these war machines, though seemingly frozen in history, find modern reflection in the continued evolution of technology as we refine tactics and strategies. The correlation between ancient war deftness and contemporary innovation grows palpable, reminding you that even as times and tools change, the drive to construct and overcome remains fiercely woven into the human spirit. As the sun begins its descent, casting shadows long upon the field, you walk away from the siege engines with a newfound appreciation for the layered artistry imbued within these powerful constructions. They are the pieces of a grander puzzle, an orchestra of levers and gears that balances age-old ambition against the formidable canvas of human endeavor. Once more, you find yourself in awe of the synergy between necessity and imagination, and the timeless will to dominate, innovate, and ultimately transcend the challenges that face us. As the shadows grow longer and the air cooler, you find yourself reflecting on the more elusive and spine-chilling aspect of medieval warfare, the dawn of biological warfare. It's a subject that stretches the imagination and raises the hairs on the back of your neck. In a time when direct confrontation ruled the battlefield, the use of disease as a weapon added an insidious layer to the art of war. While crude artillery and well-devised fortifications bore witness to the clash of arms, plague and pestilence awaited in the shadows, creeping into the very core of human vulnerability. You imagine the dark intentions behind deploying sickness as a strategy, turning nature's invisible foes into allies amidst enmity. Historians still debate the extent and effectiveness of such tactics, pondering whether the use of biological agents was motivated by desperate necessity or calculated malice. As you stroll into the heart of the fortified encampment, stories begin to weave through the campfire conversations, tales of blackened bodies and feverish despair. Here, myth and reality intermingle, each rumour punctuated by the wordless menace of ailments unleashed upon unsuspecting foes. It's a sinister reminder that even the bravest of soldiers can crumble, not from a visible enemy, but from an unseen contagion carried upon the wind. One of the most infamous deployments of early biological warfare involved the siege of Kaffa in 1346, where tales tell of Mongol forces catapulting plague-ridden corpses over the city walls to wear down the defenders within. This grotesque gambit underscores the depths of human ingenuity when faced with survival's ultimate test. The very thought of disease as a weapon sends a thrill of discomfort down your spine, a realization of vulnerability just beyond the realm of sensory perception. Taking solace in a moment of gallows humour, you wonder aloud to yourself if early warriors ever imagined their gruesome tactics would be considered precursors to germ warfare, a term firmly established in modern terminology. The rules of engagement bleed into murky grey, reflecting a landscape where morality and survival thinly veil their combations. Within these unsettling narratives lies a colourful tapestry of medieval beliefs and practices intended to counteract disease, even those deliberately perpetrated by enemies. The half-lit chamber of a healer unfurls as a sanctuary of knowledge where sage advice mixes with improvised remedies and ancient rituals. Pendants thought to ward off illness and decoctions believed to counteract toxins become lifelines in a world devoid of modern medicine. Conversations with the healers reveal tricks of the trade, a burgeoning understanding of how isolating the sick and burning infected materials could halt the spread of disease. You glean insights into the primitive understanding of contagion, beliefs rooted in superstition, yet foreshadowing humankind's future battles with pathogens on a global stage. As the camp's occupants ponder these methods, you sense they share in the age-old question. Do these early techniques of biological warfare constitute an evolution in warfare tactics, or do they underscore mankind's desperation? The answer remains elusive, subject to reinterpretation as new knowledge emerges to temper historical hindsight. In this moment of introspection, you recognize the duality of humankind's innate drive to both create and destroy, a trait as timeless as the ebb and flow of conflict itself. The use of disease in warfare is a reminder of the ingenious yet perilous lengths humanity pursues toward dominion, a reflection of both resourcefulness and despair. As twilight descends upon the camp, cloaking it in the velvet of encroaching darkness, you find solace in the survivors' shared resilience. Standing amidst the flickering light, you grasp that medieval warriors were not only masters of weaponry and mechanics, but also deft navigators of ethical dilemmas that defied temporal confines, a realization that anchors you amid the swirl of history's complexity. The lessons learned, a somber meditation on the duality of our nature, provide a tapestry interwoven with hope and shadow, interspersed with humour, to remind us that time's shifts may alter tactics, but the essence of human spirit, conflict and growth remains, an enduring flame, relentlessly burning onward. As the camp settles into the gentle lull of dusk, its shadows stretching like the spindly fingers of legends past, the conversations turn to the myths and superstitions that suffuse medieval life. Here, in the whispers carried on the night air, you discover that the battlefield is as much a place of spiritual lore as it is one of physical clashes, an arena where stories and omens convey as much weight as swords and shields. The medieval mind is fertile soil for tales spun from the bizarre and the mysterious. As warriors huddle round the fire, their faces illuminated by flickering flames, stories unfurl in a tapestry of belief woven tightly with fear and hope. Superstitions are the hidden guardians of those who wield them, binding the tangible with the ephemeral in a struggle for meaning amidst the chaos of war. Historians often grapple with these tales, wondering whether they served to instill confidence or preemptively mitigate fear. Either way, these stories of ghostly spectres haunting the aftermath of battles, or the appearance of celestial bodies as foretellers of doom or triumph, paint an evocative picture of medieval thought and imagination. Listening to a knight recount an encounter with a phantom army, your curiosity piques. He describes marching shadows, glimpsed from the corner of his eye, counterpart souls in a spectral reflection of their earthly kin. These eerie apparitions, said to walk at the stroke of midnight, remind you that the boundaries between reality and myth remain tantalizingly blurred, a testimony to the medieval belief in the interwoven fabric of worlds unseen. As you wander through the camp, observing the talismans and charms that dangle from pack and belt alike, you sense the pervasive influence of protective beliefs in warding off evil. Amulets imbued with prayers offer reassurance, a spiritual armor against unseen foes. There is the soldier who tucks a tiny relic stitched into his clothing, convinced of its supernatural protection against arrows. And the archer who carries a token from home, bestowing momentary calm amid the tempest of war. In hushed tones, the soldiers share tales of omens that preceded historic battles, events said to foretell the favour or ire of divine forces. Historians still argue whether such occurrences were merely coincidental or exaggerated by storytellers weaving glory and tragedy into gripping tales. The accounts of a comet streaking the sky, an enemy's ill-fated stumble, or the sudden flight of a murder of crows, all find their place in the annals of war's narratives, cherished reminders of the unseen scripts guiding human endeavours. As the night deepens, bringing with it a chill that echoes through mailed armour, you reflect on the curious power of belief. While modern sensibilities might dismiss these superstitions as mere relics of ignorance, there's undeniable allure in their persistence. They weave through the tapestry of history as symbols of hope, comfort, and fear, anchors in tumultuous seas where life's unpredictability steers the ship. These myths, with their blend of the extraordinary and the ordinary, transcend physical scars, connecting tales of the past to the heart's yearning for continuity and solace. You can't help but smile softly at the stories of luck-turning trinkets passed from parent to child, relics of a world seemingly less certain yet profoundly attuned to its mysteries. In the embrace of this nocturnal vigil, with the embers of the campfire winking like knowing eyes, you come to appreciate that these superstitions, though perhaps fanciful, capture something quintessentially human. They speak to the universal quest for understanding and meaning amidst unfathomable complexity and transience. A quest as potent and necessary as the pursuit of honour on the battlefield. As the last vestiges of the fire's glow paint shadows on your surroundings, you feel the quiet rhythm of the past and present blend together. A reminder that humanity's stories, be they fact or fiction, offer reflections of our deepest fears, biggest hopes and brightest dreams. Through these tales, you find a shared human legacy spanning centuries that continues to guide, inspire and, occasionally, ignite the seeds of laughter across the ages. As the first hints of dawn brush the horizon with the soft hues of a new day, the battlefield feels hauntingly still, as though the very earth takes a breath before returning to the grim cycle of conflict. The aftermath of battle is a solemn tableau, a stark reminder of human endeavour's dual capacity for creation and destruction. In this quiet aftermath, a visceral sense of reflection permeates the air, offering a moment of contemplation to those who remain. Walking through the remnants of the battlefield, you are enveloped by an overwhelming silence that contrasts sharply with the chaos that reigned only hours before. The ground is marked by the passage of warriors, caught between the euphoria of survival and the nagging sorrow for their fallen comrades. Each footstep echoes within you, reverberating with a poignant reminder of the cost woven into the fabric of war. Historians often debate the broader implications of these battles, their influence on borders, societies, and the shifting tides of power. Yet here, amidst the aftermath, you become acutely aware of the personal stories etched into every soiled tunic and discarded shield. Each artifact carries the weight of lives interrupted, dreams halted, and silent prayers left unanswered. Amidst the debris, small tokens emerge, glinting gently in the morning light. The scattered beads from a broken bracelet, a locket bearing a faded portrait, and the telltale signs of camaraderie shared and promises whispered. These remnants bear witness to an underlying humanity that can so easily be overshadowed by the hammer of conflict. They remind you of the personal sacrifices made in the name of king and country, of ideals held dear long after their champions have faded into history's shadow. Yet, It's not just sorrow that reigns here. The persevering spirit of those left reflects an audacious resilience. The healers move softly among the wounded, tending injuries with both mundane and mystical ministrations. It's a dance of mending, echoing the rhythmic beat of life, persisting against the march of oblivion. Their hands, sure and steady, draw forth tales of endurance written on scar-touched skin, testifying to the human spirit's unyielding hold on hope. As the sun slowly rises, splintering light across the landscape, others begin the solemn task of laying their fallen comrades to rest, a ritual as ancient as time itself. Guided by the chivalric code, they honour each spirit with the same dignity they bore into battle, a salve for the bereaved hearts of those who continue to seek solace in whispers shared beneath an open sky. This community, built through shared struggle and triumph, affirms the enduring bonds of brotherhood that transcend the boundaries of life and death. In the wake of destruction lies an opportunity for reflection, growth, and regeneration. With earth and sky as witness, the survivors draw strength from the intangible lessons born of trial and tribulation. The battlefield becomes a canvas upon which humans redefine themselves, ready to flourish anew amid the shadow of yesterday's storm. Despite the chaos, beauty persists, the splendor of life respinning itself in cycles of rebirth. The battlefield may bear scars of war, but it also offers a chance to begin anew, etching foundations upon which generations to come will construct their legacies. In time, the ground will weave these events into the tapestry of history, a testament to the ceaseless ebb and flow of human existence. With the wind gathering whisperings of distant echoes, you stand resolute, recognizing that amid loss and grief lies the promise of redemption, etched with humility and the hope of a brighter tomorrow. As the lingering fog lifts, gently caressing the landscape one last time before withdrawing, you find peace in the knowledge that the after-battle silence is not one of despair, but of renewal, the tranquil prelude to a future awaiting mankind's noble, enduring spirit. And together, within this thoughtful pause at the dawning juncture of past and future, the journey's revelations resonate, embracing the perpetual dance between memory and history, with a whisper, a sigh, and the promise of endless potential. As the morning sun climbs higher, casting its warming gaze across the landscape, the battlefield transforms into a curious scene of quiet industry. The remnants of conflict linger, yet there's an air of promise among the lingering echoes, a sense of treasure hidden beneath the ashes and scattered throughout the aftermath. For those resilient enough to seize opportunity from ruin, there begins the frantic and fascinating art of treasure hunting, where one man's loss becomes another's find. You wander through this post-battle world, watching as scavengers, soldiers, and even locals sift through what's left behind. The ground, embossed with the memory of battle, becomes a tapestry upon which tales of fortune and folly are spun. While historians document the major shifts in power and borders, here you glimpse the microcosm of human resilience, the improvisational dance of finding worth in the wreckage. Amid the oily soot and burned grass, glints of metal betray the presence of hidden riches. Rusted swords and tarnished mail, once wielded in valor, lie forgotten. Armor plates, now useless to their wearers, gleam dully beneath the sun. It's here fortune seekers ply their trade, seeking gleaming coins buried beneath the weight of forgotten valor and discarded hopes. You chuckle to yourself, imagining today's metal detector enthusiasts seeing a keen joy in their pursuits, unearthed wonders sparking imaginations as they rewind history one discovery at a time. Among those scavenging is a blacksmith, keenly eyeing the remains of broken weapons and battered armor. To him, these discarded remnants hold potential, resources waiting to be reborn in his forge, repurposed and reshaped into tools and instruments useful once more. His hands, calloused yet gentle, transform perceived scrap into enduring utility, illustrating a belief that even shattered dreams can find new life under thoughtful guidance. Though some scour the field with an eye for profit, others search for lost keepsakes and tokens, small, personal treasures seeking reunification with their owners. These relics offer a lifeline of connection to loved ones long departed, tangible memorials anchoring stories of courage and camaraderie. You notice a woman tenderly gather such items, her intent on returning them home, a quiet tribute to the human heart. Humanity's penchant for storytelling finds fertile ground amid these archaeological pursuits. Stories of relics bearing perceived curses, of armoured suits housing spirits of their last bearers, circulate among the deeply curious. These fables, whether lingering echoes of the past or fanciful creations of the present, lend a sense of wonder to objects otherwise forgotten, imbuing them with a living spirit of their own. As you traverse the field, intrigued by this dynamic theatre, you perceive the connective threads drawn together by fortune and ruin. Every coin discovered, every relic pried from the earth, adds another verse to the grand ballad of history. Even debated treasures, historians argue, serve as non-traditional archives, each whispering secrets of forgotten battles that weave the fabric of the present. Beneath it all sparkles the tension between destruction and renewal, a tension that, over centuries, has left behind layers of legacy. Within these relics, if you listen closely, pulses a rhythmic echo of time, a reminder that change is constant and opportunity spans even the bleakest horizons. In the end, the riches extracted from the earth are not merely material, but transformative, sources of remembrance and reinvention guiding humanity forward. In this rich symphony woven from life's ceaseless dance, you take solace in the understanding that meaningful recovery is sculpted not just from remnants, but from the sparks of imagination that persistently illuminate paths anew. Each soul, whether warden, wanderer, or dreamer, intuitively discovers the beauty and promise hidden in the ashes of another day. The sun overhead now blankets the land in generous gold, urging new growth to emerge. With a fervent breath, you step from this tableau with a deeper comprehension that these relics, like ourselves, continue to evolve and enrich the sturdy canvas upon which the grand narratives of past, present, and future are wielded. As you meander through the echoing corridors of this historical journey, your attention turns toward the artistry that breathes life into these tales of valor and strife. Art, in its myriad forms, has long been a vessel for interpretation and expression, capturing the essence of medieval warfare and translating its grim realities into vivid depictions that resonate through time. Here, amidst the echoes of past skirmishes and triumphs, the vibrant tapestry of artistic interpretation invites you to glimpse the soul behind the steel. Within bustling halls and quiet abbeys alike, artists employ their crafts to immortalize the deeds that unfolded across these lands. The clamour of battlefields finds its counterpoint on the painter's canvas, where bold strokes and rich pigments transform chaos into scenes of narrative clarity, punctuating the annals of history with colour and form. The gentle trickle of a stream nearby reflects this artistry, the water's surface like a mirror to the delicately illustrated manuscripts capturing warriors mid-charge, banners fluttering in imagined breezes. Exploring the realm of medieval art, you find yourself surrounded by creations that narrate workaday heroics and legendary exploits. Illuminated manuscripts come to life with scenes of knights astride magnificent horses, their armour glinting in imagined sunlight. These images embellish the margins of handwritten texts, their intricate details hinting at worlds populated by saints and sinners alike, human frailty enshrined in holy and temporal struggles spanning the pages. Stained glass windows, both brilliant and foreboding, cast their rainbowed reflections upon the stony floors of churches, transforming spaces of worship into sanctuaries not only for the souls who seek solace within, but for the stories captured in these glowing vignettes. The intersecting colours and leaden lines inspire the pious, their eyes finding solace in the spectral light patterns that unfold age-old narratives of forgiveness, sacrifice, and redemption. Historians continue to study how artistic interpretations influence not just perceptions of medieval warfare, but the societal expectations they fostered. Whether celebrating heroism or cautioning against neglect of duty, these renderings impart values and lessons that resonate beyond their origin. Melding tale and truth into enduring legacy, they capture a vivid comprehension that the stroke of a brush or the chisel's mark may sharpen perception with as much precision as a general strategic maneuver. Weaving through the spectrum of artistic expression, a peculiar notion emerges, a sly sort of humour punctuating the solemnity. Within the binding of the Bayeux tapestry, craftsmen thread whimsical creatures among the dignified cavalcades, suggesting an acknowledgement of the absurd juxtaposition between grand endeavours and common humanity. As you roam the realm of sculptured statuary, gargoyles grin widely and gleefully against the backdrop of battlements, perhaps a medieval artist's gentle reminder to beware the weight of one's own follies. These figured guardians transform into both decoration and deterrent, their playful forms challenging observers to ponder what lies beneath the fierce exterior portrayed in battle. Music, too, emerges as an evocative chronicle. Troubadours' lilting melodies sing of battles fought as timeless ballads, translating the chaos into tunes that mourn and celebrate with equal fervour. The harmonious strains recount tales of valorous knights and lovelorn quests, preserving acts of courage within lyrical measures, their spoken-sung intonation delivering lessons of the heart. Guided through these expressions, the resonance of art against the stark cadence of battle elevates understanding beyond bullet points and battle maps. This myriad of translation unveils truths obscured beneath layers of armour and ignites the imagination with forgotten splendour held in chromatic vibrance, fusing past with present for those prepared to listen. As the day wanes, cloaked in blushing hues of twilight, the realization emerges that medieval battles, though shrouded in warfare's smoky veil, transcend physical feats to capture the essence of existence, enduring through the resplendent language of artistic interpretation. In their bold rendering, the echoes of history find a voice clear and resonant, drawing all who will hear into the timeless dance between folklore, faith, and fiery deeds. The stepping away, you carry within you the vibrant threads that art so deftly weaves, illuminating the medieval tale spun by the deft hands of artisans and warriors alike. With their guidance, you embrace the understanding that even in the crucible of conflict, the human spirit seeks beauty, connection, and meaning. Affixed in the strokes of history, enduring brightly, eternally. As the canvas of history unfurls before you, the fascinating evolution of medieval warfare captures your imagination, revealing a dynamic transformation that charts humanity's growth through ingenuity and adaptability. It's a story of progress that mirrors the slow, steady crawl of centuries, an era defined by blood and valor, gradually giving way to strategic brilliance and technological innovation. Here, on the cusp of change, you witness not just battles fought, but the evolution of thought itself. Walking the path laid down by time's steady march, you sense how knights in their cumbersome armour first dominated the stage, the chivalric code guiding their behaviours and the weight of metal dictating their limits. Initially, battles played out like chess games with predictable moves, the aristocratic cavalry reigning supreme, both feared and revered. But even as they clashed, subtler changes stirred. The seeds of evolution planted within the shifting soils of tradition. Historians often debate when exactly these changes took hold, whether through gradual adaptation or swift military genius. It becomes apparent that as the world expanded, so did its horizons, and with them came a necessity for evolutions both tactical and technological. The advent of the longbow is testament to this, its formidable range and power bridging the chasm between foot soldiers and mounted knights, or with it, the battlefield began to democratize, giving rise to commoners who challenged the monopoly of elite warriors, each arrow a contingent levelling the playing field. Strategists found themselves reimagining how wars were waged, developing new formations and maneuvers to counter the longbowman's lethal efficacy. While knights persisted, their role diminished, compelling them to adapt histrionics into tactics. New engines of war emerged as well, crossbows and pikes that dictated changes in armour design, each new invention an answer to the previous, an unending dialogue between offence and defence. As gunpowder made its halting but inevitable debut, it signalled the dawn of a new era. Cannons and early firearms began to rudely dispel the old order, transforming the fabric of fortifications and strategies. Castle walls once impervious to siege engines found themselves shaken by explosive force, reshaping the narrative of power, while small arms began democratizing warfare further, making it clear that even the stoutness of iron and stone might prove not enough. In the midst of this transitory phase, even the very nature of commands evolved. Familiarly iconic heralds ceded titles to spies and scouts, their whispered reports becoming increasingly vital. Leaders' minds more than their might became the arbiters of victory, leading troops with knowledge and cunning collected from windswept moors and whispered tavern tales, intelligence ensuring survival where steel alone might falter. Amid these developments, even the chivalric code bent to new truths, construed by few to embrace and others to deride. Some knights honed their skills anew, incorporating strategy and arms into their creed, discovering a path where honour met practicality, while others wistfully clung to storied tradition, an echo against the relentless march of time. Interestingly, scholars continue to explore this era's contrast with the modern warfare landscape, debating whether these evolving tactics influence the art of war that unfolds today. The comparisons bring insight, revealing the enduring nature of war's changing face and the constant human quest to outthink and outmaneuver. Never content with stagnation, as Twilight's spectral embrace spreads across the horizon, the understanding becomes clear that amidst the rise and fall of ideas and empires, the evolution of medieval warfare reflects a persistent human longing for order within chaos. It is a dialogue between past and future, a testament to adaptability and resilience, a narrative sculpted by architects of necessity. In the relinquished sun's gentle glow, you acknowledge that the story of medieval warfare encapsulates not only conflict's inevitable march, but also the hope born from progress. It remains an indelible message of human tenacity, a legacy of evolution that strives forward through each quiet moment of innovation and transformation, drawing breath from the courage and anticipation shared across generations. With reverence, you step further into your journey, holding the truths gathered close, and ready to embrace them anew within the ever-evolving tapestry of history. As the mist of the medieval past begins to dissipate in the light of modern thought, you find yourself contemplating the intriguing ways in which contemporary warfare draws inspiration from, yet diverges significantly from, its ancestral roots. While the clamour of swords and the clash of armour may have given way to technological marvels and globalization's intricate tapestry, the echoes of medieval strategies, tactics, and lessons continue to resonate within the corridors of modern military conflict. Walking through the hypothetical battlefield of today, the contrast strikes you immediately. The modern soldier is equipped with advanced weaponry and technology that medieval warriors could scarcely imagine. Tools designed not just to dominate physically, but to outmaneuver strategically. Yet, in the midst of this swirling maelstrom of innovation, vestiges of medieval ingenuity remain. The foundational principles of strategy, intelligence, and adaptability continue to guide the military playbook. Consider the strategic importance of high ground, a medieval lesson still prized in contemporary warfare. The tactical advantage of elevation, once encapsulated within castles perched atop hilltops, now finds its parallel in the control of airspace and satellite operations. Historians and military theorists often note that while the focus has shifted to securing the skies, the underlying principle remains steadfast. Commanding the heights translates to increased battlefield awareness and strategic dominance. Alongside the evolution of physical strategies, the psychological aspects of warfare, rooted in medieval superstition and deception, persist. Information warfare, employing propaganda, cyber tactics, and intelligence, has become as crucial as any modern arsenal. Like the medieval knights whose banners declared intent and instilled awe, modern forces utilize sophisticated psychological operations to influence, manipulate, and control narratives, mirroring a tradition where perception wields power. Even the concept of asymmetric warfare echoes medieval tactics. The art of using unconventional means to challenge greater forces harkens back to resolved defenders defying besieging armies through clever ruses, adapting in real time to an ever-changing landscape. Much like these past skirmishes, contemporary warfare thrives on innovation, leveraging technology to level the playing field against superior numbers or firepower. While the tools and technologies have proliferated, crafting precision-guided munitions and digital communication networks, the often overlooked lesson from medieval times is the human element, the strength of leadership and morale that remains ever vital. A well-led force, unwavering in unity and purpose, transcends material advantage, a timeless truth reflected in the night watches and battle hymns of medieval warriors that still resonates in today's formations. Amid the vibrant spectrum of modern warfare, the shift from field of battle to cyberspace introduces new dimensions requiring novel skill sets. Yet like medieval sieges that required patience and guile, modern combat often unfolds over extended timelines. Here, the silent struggle of subtlety and indirection retains its place, full of shadowed whispers and strategic feints that wrinkle time and space. Still, historians grapple with how modern warfare might eventually forgo these ancestral inheritances, swept aside by technologies unforeseen. Yet, even as each era attempts to define conflict according to its latest revelations, the essence of transformation into conflict's newest frameworks coheres with necessity, enlightenment, and survival. In the soft light of this contemporary reflection, you realize anew that the dance of dominance and submission, a dance practiced vividly upon medieval fields, continues to sound its rhythm today. Each campaign unveils another verse, with the humility of mankind reflected in the knighthood's shaded gleam, a continuing tapestry coloured with life and tempered by war's unyielding reality. Gently stepping back from the buzzing hive of modernity, you acknowledge that while warfare will ever progress, while technology shrinks the globe or stretches its reach, what endures are the lessons born from courage, adaptability, and the unyielding human spirit. You carry forward the knowledge that encoded within every movement of time's arrow lie reflections of the past, interfaces for today, and pathways toward a future forever illuminated by history's enduring torch. As you reach the culmination of this immersive journey, the lessons of history envelop you like a comforting cloak, drawing a seamless mosaic from the medieval battlefield to the intricacies of modern warfare. Standing still in this tapestry of echoes, rich with tales of valor, transformation, and resilience, you pause to reflect on the narratives that have woven through each step of this timeless path. Reflecting on your sojourn, you realize how the day's journey offers profound insights into the complex weave of human nature. The battlefield stands not merely as a site of conflict, but as a crucible of stories that define our collective past, blending triumphs and trials. The realization unfolds that these experiences aren't segments frozen in antiquity, but continue to ripple beneath the surface of our shared consciousness. Not just in India, in settlements in As a silent lake reflects the serene sky, so too does the past reflect upon the present, an unbroken dialogue that transcends the bounds of time and space. Rituals evolve, tactics shift, yet the indomitable spirit and quest for meaning endure, the fires of hope lending warmth to ancient shadows. The resilience seen through armor and strategy finds itself mirrored in today's world, ever resplendent despite challenges anew. The calm embrace offered by this reflection whispers of understanding, of renewed connections fostered through knowledge and experience shared across generations. Surrounded by the echoes of past warriors, you find solace in a historic kinship that binds humanity through the ages. Each tale told and retold bears a lesson, a pearl formed from the grains of shared experience that resound like clockwork, intimately familiar, yet remarkably resolved. Now, as the horizon draws its velvet curtain closed, marking the end of this deliberate journey, you hold fast to the treasures unearthed, a renewal, seeded in readiness, and a quiet urging towards growth. Secure in the knowledge that history remains an enduring source of wisdom and reflection, you venture forward with a gentle courage, kindled by both the light of understanding and the comfort of shared stories. The soft, responsive sighs of the wind mingle with your breathing as you realize this tapestry is ever there and ever beckoning. The familiar sounds, those resonant whispers of yesteryear, blend harmoniously with the new day's stirrings, spinning stories yet to be written. As you tiptoe back through the embrace of consciousness, you welcome the warmth of your own bed, enfolding you like a gentle embrace, container of dreams, relics of imagination. Like the warriors and thinkers of ages past, you sink softly into slumber, buoyed by the promise of hope's enduring song. For now, dear traveller, rest well and dream deeply, knowing tomorrow you'll rise armed with this anthem anew. Greater than, greater than, greater than. End of script. Sweet dreams.